Welcome to another edition of the Schmidt Storm. I'm in London, but you got questions and I have answers. Let's get started. The question is, are there any laws that would prevent Donald Trump from nominating one of his sons to a cabinet position? The answer to that question is no. There are no restrictions on that, but there is a check on that, and that is the advice and consent of the United States Senate, who could look at Uday and Kusei, as I like to call them, and say, you aren't allowed to run a charity in the state of New York because of the fraudulent activity found by the court, and therefore, you probably shouldn't run a cabinet agency. Because we now live in an era where co-equal members of government, members of the legislative branch, have taken that, crumpled it up, and thrown it away, and said things like a congressman just did, that if Donald Trump tells us to jump, we say, how high? Which is not how this is supposed to work, any of it. The question is, was the crazy nominations that Donald Trump put forward part of a plan to clear the way for people he really wanted that would be much easier to get confirmed once the cannon fodder went down? I think about this sometimes, if he is that shrewd. For sure, Trump is a better negotiator than his Democratic adversaries in the Congress. And there's no question that he took a bunch of pasta, splattered it in red sauce, and threw it against the wall. And when you look at all of these people, nobody thinks that all of the most seriously unfit people as a package can be stopped together. So there obviously is a distinction of craziness and unacceptability between Matt Gaetz and everybody else for 100 different reasons. So Gaetz is the person who gets the attention. And then we move on to Pete Hegseth, because a drunk cannot be in the chain of command with access to the nation's nuclear arsenal in the way that the Secretary of Defense has. No way. But the pursuit of Hegseth until he goes down means that Tulsi Gabbard, who is as equally unfit, is not getting the scrutiny she deserves, to say nothing of nominees like Robert F. Kennedy, who will absolutely 100% get Americans killed through his insanity, like he did in American Samoa with vaccine denial. You can look up this story. It's sad. It's a travesty. But he's likely to get through. And so when we look at all of this, I do think that Trump understands that if he can do a lot and he can do a lot fast, he's able to overwhelm the system. He's able to overwhelm the media, and the media is in a capitulant state. They're afraid of him. Everything is lining up right now in a way that gives a maximum advantage to Donald Trump in his assembly of the craziest group of Americans that have ever come together into the federal government with real power to exercise over 345 million people. So yes, I think there is a deliberateness to it, but it's an accidental deliberateness at first. Trump is an instinct player. He's not a planner. He's not a strategist. He's not working backwards from an outcome. He's feeling his way forward through a very predictable reaction set from his opponents that he's learned to intuit. The question is, what do I think about Gavin Newsom's plans to Trump-proof the state ahead of Trump taking power? I have said for a long time that I like Gavin Newsom, I admire Gavin Newsom, and I support Gavin Newsom. But Gavin Newsom is out of position politically. And Gavin Newsom is out of position politically because his first foray here into national politics in the 2024 race was not successful, in the sense that he used a great deal of capital explaining to the country why Joe Biden was fit to run when some courage was required. He's clearly had little reflection about that. Gavin Newsom has 2 years left to be governor of California. When he was the mayor of San Francisco, just like when Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco, the city was not like it is today. He has no other job but to make Los Angeles and San Francisco and the big cities of California jewels again, or at least to hand off to his successor a slightly better state than the state it's in right now. Because the country looks at California and they are aghast. California as a brand is thoroughly broken. It is not admired. It is not a place where people think about as one to go to like it used to be for reinvention, for opportunity. California has become synonymous with government failure, and it has become the prop of the American Cleon, Donald Trump, a world-class demagogue. So the results of the election were that America wanted to California-proof the United States by making Trump president. And what Gavin Newsom should start doing is governing, and stop doing is posturing. All of us would be much better off. Ambition is a fine thing, and it's a necessary thing in politics. But we're entering a period when politics is going to be about one thing. It's going to be about who's on your side and who's tough enough to stand up to an array of powerful interests, which include, for the first time in our lifetime, the government of the United States directly threatening opposition and directly threatening acts of conscience because they can. Things are about to get serious and real. And for Democrats to be able to win again at the national level, they have to repair the sense of alienation that exists between them and a lot of ordinary people about their ability to keep them safe, to keep order in the big cities, and to maintain prosperity in their core, and for good reason. The question is, with Matt Gaetz gone and Pete Hegseth about to join him over a cameo, who is the next most vulnerable Trump pick? That is obviously the spectacularly unfit, unqualified, Russian useful idiot, Tulsi Gabbard, who has grown up, I shit you not, in a cult in Hawaii. Read all about it. The bottom line is that the National Intelligence Director cannot be a person who can't distinguish reality from fantasy, can't distinguish Russian propaganda from news. So Tulsi Gabbard cannot be the National Intelligence Director. Plus, Tulsi Gabbard is not smart enough intellectually to navigate the nomination hearings. So she will be the next up. And of course, Robert Kennedy, the Tara Palmieri, one of the best political reporters in the country, has reported that this posted here is the questionnaire for Robert Kennedy over at the Department of Health and Human Services. Why is Robert Kennedy quizzing prospective female employees about their sexual history? The era we're entering into is one I still continue to believe there's a great deal of a lack of imagination about. And so the unfitness at a moral level, at an intellectual level, at a mental health level, amongst the team that Trump is assembling is extraordinary. And during these next weeks and months, that unfitness will stretch down to confirmable positions at a sub-cabinet level, and there will be too many to name, and most of them will get through. And the Senate is not inclined at a basic level to do much exercising of its advice and consent power. So most of these people will end up in government. That's going to be bad for America, bad for you. And it's going to cost some people their lives out there. And we'll see how many when we get to the end of the catastrophe and can look back. But the position of the warning is that I'm warning you that there is a catastrophe coming. If at the end I'm wrong and we wind up on the other edge of the rainbow with a pot of gold and Donald Trump smiling behind it, I'll be the first to admit I'm wrong, but I don't think we're headed in that direction. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to join, subscribe, on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.